All right, welcome back to The Big Skinny with me, Lou Basenese. This is a time of our show where we live out one of our key beliefs in our manifesto, to be humble or be humbled. We know there's just not everything, it's not possible for us to know everything well, and that's when we bring on industry experts and people and innovators that are doing things that are far beyond our level of comprehension. And with us this week is none other than Stephen Sikes, the CEO of Public.com. Stephen, welcome to The Big Skinny, my friend.
I don't know if it warrants an applause, but
hey man, in our studios it does. You got the fans here that you might not even be aware of. Listen, I want to start with the end in mind, and then we'll kind of backtrack and fill in details. But Public came out with a recent announcement where basically AI is reimagining the investor, trading account. Can you tell us about what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I think since the original launch of really GPT-3 in API form, so we're talking before ChatGPT started. Like, we're going back to like early 2022. We've been experimenting with AI tools.
I love you said early 2022, like it was like 30 years ago, but in AI years, that is 30 years ago. So
doesn't it feel like it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it honestly does, right? I think in both AI and markets terms, that was a different generation,
Absolutely.
Different world. But anyway, so we were starting to experiment then, right? And we started to kind of use AI throughout all of the relevant surfaces that we have in the public platform to create a better investor experience and help create really serious investors, help them be better at researching, make better decisions, and ultimately have better outcomes. And
how many investors were there on the platform at that time? Just to give some context.
I mean, listen, I think we grew a lot sort of in the in the COVID and then GameStop era. We were in the millions then and continue to be in the millions now, right? It's
nice.
One of those things, you get to a level and you really achieve pretty significant scale. But yeah, so I think it started with, helping people research and keep track of what's going on in their portfolio. The first product was a tool called Alpha, right? Which again was a great way to really understand what's going on in the markets. That Alpha product helped us build like, why is it moving? Which is one of my favorite features, which, everyone opens up their app every day, looks at their portfolio and says, okay, here's how I'm doing overall. And then they want to know why, right? They want to look at which positions are going up or down. They're going to drill into the one that's up or down and say, why is that one moving? And AI is phenomenal at synthesizing that information, and we did that with Alpha.
Where are the sources that it's pulling from that? I mean, is it integrating on different social media platforms, information from analysts? Like, where are all the inputs to tell you what's going on?
Yeah, so it's a bunch of high quality news and market data sources, right? Basically everything that you could imagine having in just a broad company news feed, right? The sort of things that you would see, at the bottom of your public screen, sort of thing, again, Twitter accounts and so on. So as broad as we can, it's trying to pull a cross section of the market information that's there. And it does quite a good job of keeping on top of what's going on with an individual position.
All right. So you've rationalized research, you've rationalized like, hey, what is going on? Then also you guys are getting into like basically creating custom ETFs, if I understand this correctly, the announcement.
Yeah, so the first generation was really about research. The second was like really starting to build a good, great portfolio and building tools that help people be better investors. And that's what generated assets is, right? I think you guys were talking earlier about, top AI picks that aren't NVIDIA. I think if you wanted to build a full portfolio of those and you wanted to use AI to do it and, ultimately build a big diversified, basket of stocks to look at and to follow that theme, right? Generated assets going to be the thing for you, right? It builds that portfolio. It comes up with the weightings. It gives you the rationale of, why every one of the names is in there according to the parameters of the prompt that you gave it. And then you click one button and it invests in it and manages it over time.
Wow.
It's really a tremendous feature. And it's one of those things that really helps, really serious investors build well-diversified portfolios according to their themes, and manage them over the long run.
Now, can you share those generated asset portfolios with other people, or is it just it's completely custom?
Yeah, it's completely custom to start. We're working on the ability to share them within the platform so other people can see and build upon the work that you've done. I think there's more to come on the sort of sharing and social angle there.
Interesting. Question for you, and this is me getting into the weeds a little bit. Could I say, look, I love this ETF, the new Dan Ives ETF, but I hate the one stock that's in there. Can you build me the Dan Ives ETF minus NVIDIA? Is that possible?
Yeah, I mean, I think you absolutely can. Now the question is like, where are you going to get the data from?
Right.
But yeah, it can handle that. I'd suggest you give it a try and see how it does pulling it. What it does just at the kernel of like how it works, right, is when you give it a prompt like that, it's going to say, okay, how many individual stocks am I going to need to research? Therefore, it's going to launch a bunch of different agents to go and research sort of the universe that you give it. The first thing it's going to go do is try and figure out how many stocks are in the Dan Ives ETF, and that's going to try and find each of those individual stocks and bring it in. So
Right.
I wouldn't say the pipeline in AI is optimized for sort of starting with an individual portfolio like that.
Yep.
But there are places where if you can give it the individual index and it might know what those index participants are, it can do a really good job.
And then it's just going to keep getting better as we see with Gemini being released and all these AI models continuing to evolve. So, I mean, I would say that you guys, it's built in, right? It's just going to keep upgrading in terms of its capabilities.
100%. We're going to keep developing on top of it. And, that's sort of the generated assets. I know we can also talk about sort of a full agentic brokerage approach, which is something we announced last week as well. And I think, that's where we're building towards.
Yeah, tell me about that, because I'm sitting here talking to you and I'm thinking, I came out of Morgan Stanley's private client business where I witnessed in my 20s a room, we called it the bullpen, full of financial advisor soon-to-be's just cold calling. And like, I listen to what you've built and are building and vision, and what's the purpose of a financial advisor anymore? I mean, candidly, is this the grand vision to replace a certain segment of the advisory business?
Yeah, I mean, certainly it'll help perform a function of the advisory business. And I would say that's the sort of mechanical execution, right? I think, starting from, I don't know, if you disaggregated what do advisors do, right? You're going to start with things like, okay, they're going to, help create a plan for you to execute, right? And a financial plan, right? Agentic brokerage, not going to do that. The second thing it's going to do is going to help implement that plan. If you know what you want to do and you know how you want to manage your portfolio, you want to know how you want to manage your cash flow, maybe you want to take cash out, tax efficient way here or there, agentic brokerage, perfect for the mechanics and execution, right? And then the third thing, what do advisors do? They're a little bit of emotional support. Markets go up, markets go down. You want somebody there to help manage the way that you react to that. And again, AI is not there. So again, our point of view is there's always going to be a role for advisors, especially, on that emotional support. Planning, again, continues to be sort of the realm of advisors, though I do think there's an opportunity that AI will take more of that over time. But really where we find AI and agents can add value today is once you know what you want to do, helping execute those more complicated mechanics, right? It's like managing your recurring investments, making, trigger-based decisions, deciding how to allocate cash or, shift cash between your high yield cash account, your savings account, and your brokerage account, things like that, helping sell, a particularly appreciated position smartly so you minimize the tax consequences, right? Raise cash across an overall portfolio, again, to reduce your cash exposure or your tax exposure.
Yeah,
like those are things where it's like, it's a function of data and the right toolkit. Agents are going to be fantastic.
Yeah, and it sounds like it gives you discipline too, right? Because people always get emotional and make the wrong decisions, and this is it's basically hiring a portfolio trainer instead of a physical trainer. Hey, we're going to make you go through the motions that are required to stay in good health, portfolio health. It's super interesting. So what else do you have on the horizon, right, that you can speak about publicly, no pun intended, that you see a vision for this whole platform becoming as AI continues to evolve at a rapid pace?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think we have a lot more to come. Again, agentic brokerage, the way I would phrase it is it's like, anything that you can do on public, any individual function that you can perform with your broker should be able to be performed through this sort of agent, right? And it should be able to combine those tasks into really interesting things. So, it could go everywhere from like building your own sort of rule-based or algorithmic trading strategy all the way through just like making sure you can pay your bills if you want to, sort of run your household cash flow off of a margin line and you want to do that well, right? It can perform that full function. I think we're going to keep investing in making sure it can live up to sort of every one of those functions. And so it's such a generalizable tool that I wouldn't say it's like one of those things that's going to have, different, it's going to continue to get smarter and better over time. It's not necessarily us building like a net new feature on top of it.
Yeah.
One thing I would highlight is, again, I think the cool thing is all of the portfolio management tools that come on top of it. And like those start with what we call direct indexing, right? You guys, it's a familiar topic. You could start with the S&P 500. You could invest in all 500 names rather than just owning the ETF, and that helps you have more control, customization. You can, say you don't want to have Apple in there, you can remove Apple. Say you want to, reweight the Mag 7 so they're equal weighted, so you're not, arbitrarily picking among them. There's a bunch of different things you can do within direct indexing, and then you can tax loss harvest it, right? And so taking all of those tools from direct indexing, continuing to enhance those to improve sort of after tax, after fee returns, and bringing those over to the agentic and generated assets side. I think a ton of really cool stuff to come there.
Yeah, and then for people that aren't familiar with public, what can you do on the platform in terms of trading different assets, right? So crypto, do you have margin options? What's on the product roadmap to where it can be a one-stop shop for all your investing needs?
Yeah, I mean, again, that's what we've built towards, is that sort of one-stop shop idea and one-stop shop place for serious investors, people that, again, want to have the best after-tax, after-fee return in the long run. And I think that's exactly what we've built. Again, it's every asset class, that the vast majority of investors are going to want: direct access to equities, ETFs, fixed income, both corporate bonds and treasuries, direct access at low cost on your phone, unparalleled there, crypto, options, margin, retirement accounts. Again, you go through the list of all the things that, really a long-term investor or an active trader need in this market to do a really good job of managing their portfolio, and Public's got it.
And then this is the analyst brain in me is just wondering, because I think this is a genius setup, how you're moving towards the areas using AI and leveraging it for individuals to get really an edge up in tools that they don't have. Is Public, pun intended, ever considering going public? Like, what's the revenue model here in the long-term plan? Is that something that's on the roadmap potentially?
I mean, again, it's in the long, I won't say specifically, what our plans are. And again, I don't think we have timelines. We're still a private company. We enjoy being a private company and the growth and the innovation that allows us to pursue. But again, we definitely see some of our competitors that are public companies and recognize the benefit of having our customers, the investors who, trust Public with their assets, being able to be owners in the company. And, I think that would be a long-term aspiration for sure.
Yeah, no, look, I think there's a tremendous opportunity. There's been tons of consolidation in that space in years past, but I want to encourage everyone listening here now live or maybe recorded to check out what Public's doing. You can do that by using the QR code on the screen or going to public.com and see what the standard is for active trading all in one platform. Stephen, I want to thank you for joining the Big Skinny and invite you back soon on the next big news coming out of Public if you'd like to join, man.
Yeah, Lou, would love to come back anytime. And just for the audience, again, we make ourselves available online on Twitter, LinkedIn, Reddit, wherever you could find us. Like I said, we're pretty easy to find and always happy to talk to people that are considering Public or existing customers that just want to rap about the markets or understand more about what we offer.
Awesome. I love your willingness to field whatever questions you get. That's something that's right in line with what we do here. So thanks again, Stephen.